And on. Okay, good. I really thought Maddie was going to do Imagine There's No Brexit. Yeah, so I would support that, because what I'm going to talk about is more general than just science. I want to talk about how ditching Brexit helps rebuild a brighter Britain and 5 reasons why. So that's what I'm just going to launch into. Reason number 1 that we should be ditching Brexit and rebuilding the country is clearly because Brexit wrecks it. And we can see that already. When even Nigel Farage is saying, well, I never actually promised that Brexit would be good for us, in the sense, and did you hear him recently making an excuse about it? He's backing away from it. And it is becoming clear to people that right across the different sectors involved, whether it be car manufacturers, whether it be the City of London, whether it be what we're seeing in the universities, or whether it be NHS staffing and all of the EU nurses leaving, Brexit is already causing untold damage to the country at the moment. The investment is dropping after the pound has dropped, and the money we were shoveling into it is immense. On top of that, we, if we go through with Brexit, are going to come out into a wasteland where we are trying to rebuild all the things that we were cost sharing on before. All the different agencies, all the different mechanisms for checking goods at the borders, as well as lots of different frameworks for our services. So reason number 1 to ditch Brexit entirely is we shouldn't be taking on this cost burden that gives us absolutely nothing in return. Reason number 2 is the youth. And during the referendum debate, I think the youth 18 to 24-year-olds was something like 73% for Remain. I've seen a recent poll that 18 to 24-year-olds are now 85% for Remain. This is the future they want within the European framework. Culturally, that's what they understand. It makes sense to them. They see their futures in that, and they are feeling it more strongly. So I was giving a talk in Oxford recently, and I had 2 people stand up in the audience, both ladies in their, I'm guessing, 60s, saying, my son or my daughter is leaving the country and they're going to go and work in Europe. And they were both saying the same things. You know, one had 2 kids leaving, another had 1 kid leaving, and then I was hearing other people say it as well, that the younger generation are actually increasingly looking to opportunities in Europe now, because they think that the UK is drying up for these kind of opportunities. And it's a psychological phenomenon where scarcity actually increases the value of something. I remember when Concorde announced that they were going to be ending, and I was one of those people that immediately jumped on the website to see if I could get on one of those flights before the opportunity that had always been there was kind of gone forever. And I think we're seeing a lot of that in our youth. They're suddenly aware of everything that was gifted to them before, and we're seeing them getting a lot more active now. It took a long time coming, but if you see all the students' unions coming forward now, the new youth campaigns coming forward, so the youth are going to be fighting for this future in Europe, and you're seeing it strongly within the Labour Party now as well. So the second reason for ditching Brexit is that there is that new awareness in the youth about them strongly wanting to capture the future that opens up all of those travelling and living and working and business opportunities for them. Reason number 3, which ties into this tightly, is science, universities, innovation and technology. We now know, everyone now knows, that the EU is a massive success story for science. In fact, Europe as a whole has been doing well from this, and this is vital to our future jobs and our future economy. In fact, since the end of World War II until now, about half of America's growth has been driven by investment in science and technology. In Europe in recent decades, in recent couple of decades, there's been similar figures. Investment in science and technology provides the cutting edge, which generates new businesses, new ways of doing things within all the businesses, When you have universities spinning out companies into the local communities, that generates growth, not just for those working in tech or the science, but as those businesses grow, it's jobs for everyone, the painter, decorator, the security, the cleaners, the local hospitality, Silicon Valley effect. You see that around universities, not just for the spin-outs they produce, but also the innovative companies around them are increasingly working with universities. So if you want to build better, high-quality jobs that have global impact for the future, you want to be in science and technology. And this is where the EU has actually put booster rockets on the UK. If you look at the three big players globally for science, it is the EU, the US, and China. And the EU is ahead of both the other two. In terms of scientific output, it's ahead of both, and the gap with America is growing. In terms of number of researchers, it's ahead of both, and the gap with America is growing. And the EU has also overtaken the US for high-impact papers. And you can talk about the EU as a unit like that because that's how we have been functioning and doing so well. The EU has been the glue to make all of Europe a real hub in research and innovation, because we all get together on the investment, on the policy, on the regulations. We've been able to put together these massive multinational dream teams, pick and mix from all the labs across the continent that you want, and then this is how we've been getting ahead of the US, because this is where science is going in terms of its structure. So that is the third reason for ditching Brexit, which is if we care about future economy, then we don't want to be playing in this program, we don't want to be playing in these structures from the sidelines. We now know that we want to be back in the driving seat of this highly successful engine where the funding has been ramping up, the success has been ramping up, it's been delivering added value for us, and basically it has been a vehicle for our economic future, and we want back in on that. The fourth reason relates to that, and that's our voice in the world. On the science programme, for example, if we were to come out of the EU, then we could play along from the sidelines on the science programme, but where's our policy voice? And the same thing goes right across business for all different domains of whether it be medicines, whether it be manufacturing, whether it be environmentalism. If you're not around the table of this massive market, this massive collaboration of countries, where is your voice? We were thinking that we could pop out of the EU framework and go gallivanting around the globe, telling everyone how it's going to be done British styles. Well, have a little look at what Putin is up to and Donald Trump is up to, and you see from all these trade wars that are starting to bubble up that essentially it's a game of big, big players. And the EU is a big player. It has saved our steel before when George W. Bush was trying to slap tariffs on. And it is the force now backing us when we are threatened by not just Donald Trump's direct actions, but then what that means for flows of steel coming from China and all the rest, okay? It is at that collaborative level where we can have a much, much stronger voice, not just within Europe and continuing to be strong there, but also in the global playing field. If we care about our voice in future, then we should be ditching Brexit and getting back with our team. And then this brings me on to the final one of why ditching Brexit then sets us up to re-engage for a brighter future for this country, and that is, don't Brexit, fix it. And we have learned so much over the last 2.5 years. There's one really good thing to Brexit here, despite all the damage that it's been doing, and that is we have had a thorough education that has been neglected by our media and our politicians over the last 40-odd years. They let things to do with Europe just happen on the side without having that public involvement, without having that engagement, without the media dealing with it properly. But now, thanks to the referendum debate and then everything that we have marched through since, we have had that brutal and bludgeoning education of what the single market means, of what Euratom is, of the customs union, of regulations and tariffs and international trade, of all these different agencies and frameworks. You know, we are being hauled through this to the point where we are now in a briar patch, where our government do not know what they're doing because they have not made adequate plans. But we don't have to sleepwalk further into disaster. We have learnt enough now to say this is not the right route for our country, but we can see what the advantages are of ditching this and staying in, and we can see what are a lot of the problems that we need to fix on a national level. Because the chain of command was indeed broken between the British people and what was happening at the EU level. But that breakage wasn't between our UK government and being heard by the EU. That was working just fine. With issues like eastward expansion or Turkey joining or lots of different regulations that were set up, the problem was that our government wasn't connecting this through back to the people to involve them in the decision making before going and doing it at a European level. And that's where they have been negligent overall. So our power at the EU level works fine. What we need to do is ditch Brexit and fix our command and control between the people and the government with the European vision here on our own soil. And that is something that I think more and more people are recognising now, and that's why we should ditch Brexit and rebuild a better future for this country right here. Thank you.